This is me, Craig Ferguson. I'm inviting you to come and see my brand new comedy hour. Well, it's about an hour and a half, and I don't have an opener because these guys cost money. But what I'm saying is I'll be on stage for a while. Anyway, come and see me live on the Pants on Fire tour in your region. Tickets are on sale now, and we'll be adding more as the tour continues throughout 2025 and beyond. For a full list of dates, go to thecraigfergusonshow.com. See you on the road, my dears.
Hello, welcome to the Joy Podcast. My name is Craig Ferguson. I am your host today. I've just finished reading this book. Well, not this one. This is a fancy show-off version, but I've read the same book inside bits, but this is the new cover. It's by a gentleman called Salman Rushdie, who is one of the greatest writers of our generation, and you're going to talk to him right now with me. You're not going to talk. I'm going to talk, and he's going to talk. You're going to listen. So let me just say this before we go any further. I just finished reading the 11th Hour this morning, which is a little late for me to talk to you about it because I like to kind of get a little cynical and have a bit of distance from the book so that I'm not like fawning and fanboy. But I'm going to fawn and fanboy a little bit.
It's okay.
I don't know though, because sometimes you're a seasoned professional. Sometimes flattery sounds like manipulation, doesn't it?
No, it just...
All right, good. I'll go for it. So here's what I thought. I think that this book, because I've read, I don't know if you know this, but you've written a few books and I've read them. This one I feel is the most accessible thing. Either I'm getting smarter or you're kinder. It feels like a very affable book to me in a weird way.
It was very enjoyable to write.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable to read.
Which isn't always necessarily the same thing.
Right.
But this one, it was like, because I wrote this nonfiction memoir about the attack, etc.
Right.
And somehow, the moment I finished it, like this door in my head opened and I was able to go back into fiction.
Yeah, it's funny though, there's a real meta feeling about it. I wanted to talk to you about it because some of it feels like classic, you're in a fictional environment, it somehow feels fictional. And then someone will turn up. Like I think, or the event, even from the first story with Junior and Senior and arguing on the balcony, and I'm thinking I'm settling into this lovely, almost like subcontinent odd couple thing going on. And then it gets very dark and strange. And then a very real, I don't want to do too many spoilers for the book, but a very real thing happens. And it kind of, I wonder, later on in the book, in the story Oklahoma, you get into an argument with the wife of the writer, or you. I don't even know if it's you. I don't know if you're narrating or not. But she says you steal people and put them in books. Do you do that? Do you steal?
We all do that,
right?
But actually, the character in Oklahoma he's not as nice as me.
Right. I thought you were a bit tough on yourself.
He's a bit of a fraud,
right?
And I hope I'm not. But no, what happened was that I remembered when I had been in South India once, the story's called In the South.
Right.
And I'd been in the city which I still call Madras because I'm old-fashioned.
Right.
I have to call it Chennai.
Right.
Anyway, I met this very sweetly grumpy old guy.
Right.
He was very old, very cantankerous, hated being old, kept saying he wanted to die, but he was full of life. I kind of really liked him.
Yeah, I liked him in the book. If it's the same.
So what I did, I kind of doubled him.
Yeah.
I kind of said, let's have two of him, and let's have them disagree all the time.
Right.
And that became the story.
It's a lovely story. There's a lot of aging in the book. I mean, I'm guessing that's because, like us all, you're aging.
Not getting younger.
Yeah, right. I mean, the stuff later on, though, there feels like the second story in the book, the musician of, how do I pronounce it?
Kahani.
See, I'm glad you said it. Yeah. That, to me, there's a lot of revenge in that. There's revenge in a couple of the stories, actually. In the third story, what's the story about? What's the name of it again? About the Oxford Dawn, the ghost.
Oh, Late,
yes. Both of these are quite They're almost books in themselves, these stories, don't you think?
They're long.
Yeah.
They're novellas, really.
Right.
You know, And yeah, they both ended up being revenge stories.
Yeah, how much of that is?
No,
Yeah,
because I wasn't planning to write. Let's sit down and write some revenge stories.
yeah.
But that's just the way the stories went.
So when you write fiction, then you don't outline it's going to go this way, it's going to go that way.
I used to.
Right.
When I was a kid, I had to have quite a detailed structure before I could actually get going.
Right.
And what's happened is, as I've gone on, is I've become a little looser about that. And I mean, of course, you have to have some kind of general sense of
Right.
what it is you're writing about. But I like the process to be discovery, that you find out what you're writing by writing it.
It feels like that as a reader, actually. I wonder if that's how when I was reading through the book, I felt like I was surprised often
Good.
by the way things went.
Yeah, I think you've got to take some unexpected left turns.
Yeah. Well, when the sitar music becomes a source of, I mean that it was interesting that the sitar music had the power to cause all the magical problems, but the piano doesn't. Is that how you?
The piano doesn't really.
Right. But is that an East-West thing? You think as well?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
I just thought the sitar is superior.
Do is that like your personal taste? You prefer the?
It depends what day of the week it is.
Right.
I actually have a niece who is a brilliant concert pianist, and so she's a little bit the germ of the story as well.
Right.
Only in her talent, because the character in the story is not at all like her.
But that story fascinated me though because of the mathematician, the atheist mathematician who gets drawn into a cult,
a religious
cult. And I wonder, because I always think of you as being, in your own words, actually a hardline atheist. And I wonder if you're being drawn as like all of us, you're getting older, if you're beginning to soften on it.
No, I'm hardening.
Good. I always loved the way that Hitchens, even when he was dying, was like, no.
No, there was who is it? The story about they're asked on their deathbed if they will renounce Satan, and they said, "This is no time to be making enemies."
Oh yeah, what's that? I remember that. Oh, we need to figure out. We'll find out and we'll put it up here on the little thing. But yeah, no, it's great because it's one of the things, and I noticed in this book, it's very funny in places.
I hope so.
No, it really is though. But
I think I've always been a bit funny.
Yeah, I've always thought that. You never get credit for it. It's like Evelyn Waugh, who also very funny.
Very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I always thought that it's the thing that when I was starting out, people used to say it about my writing.
Yeah.
At Midnight Children, people used to say, "Oh, it's funny."
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, that's not what they say. But actually, I've gone on being the same writer.
I think it's because you're clever. I think it's because you're clever, and people want to feel clever, and they don't feel clever when they're laughing.
Oh, I don't know. I think there's some very clever, funny people.
Oh, so do I. But I think that. But I think
with one of them.
Yeah. But I think that the idea of, I mean, like comedies never win Oscars, and
that's true.
Thing, it's like it's because I think you can say about comedy what you can't say about great literature or drama. You run the risk of someone saying, well, you don't get it, you don't understand it. But with comedy, you can say, I don't get it. And people, and then the person who doesn't get it has the kind of upper hand to say...
Because it's always the writer's fault.
Right.
If you're trying to be funny and not being funny, that's terrible.
That's awful. That's why when you see a movie and they're trying to be funny, so they have a guy walking down the street or just doing something not funny, but they put music on it, it really drives me crazy because I know I'm like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, there's a wonderful story about Buster Keaton shooting one of his films, and like a locked-off camera on a street corner, a man comes around the corner eating a banana, tosses the banana skin over his shoulder, walks out of frame. Buster Keaton walks around the corner. Everybody thinks he's going to step on the banana, but he steps over the banana skin. He looks at the camera, he makes a high sign with his nose. And he said when he shot it, nobody laughed. So they reshot it. Same thing happens. Buster Keaton steps over the banana, makes the high sign with his nose, walks on a step and slips over a banana skin he hasn't seen. That's funny.
That is funny. That is funny. But that's the surprise.
Exactly.
But that's, I mean, it came to mind when I was reading the second story, which I feel like the musician of, say the name of the town again? Kahani. I felt like that particular story was like a Bollywood musical. It felt like you're kind of like, that could be
It's my hometown.
Right.
And it's obsessed with the movies.
You're right.
So a little bit of movies always, when I've written about Bombay, a little bit of movie stuff always creeps in.
Right. But you cannot, but that one though, not just movie references, like, I think if no one's optioned that to be a Bollywood musical, they should be working on it right now. But, would you ever allow that?
Yes, I mean, we have people for that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because, look, this may come as a shock to you. I'm not involved in Bollywood, but if I was, I'd be like,
You'd be
this.
snapping it up.
This is the new RRR. This is amazing.
Well, let's see.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I think actually the second story, the ghost story, Late, I think that's a kind of natural movie.
I thought so too, but more a kind of Brideshead Revisited sort of, or it has a more kind of meditative.
Merchant Diary film.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It has. It's almost like you know the story. It's good. Do you know what I laughed at out loud in that though? Is when you used the "go to work on an egg" thing.
Oh yes,
because that was the advertising slogan that you wrote, right?
No, Faye Wilburn wrote.
Oh, I thought it was you.
No, I wrote Adorable.
Adorable.
And I wrote Naughty But Nice.
Why didn't you get the Booker Prize for that? That is adorable.
And I wrote Naughty But Nice.
Naughty But Nice is good. But you even in that story, I thought, I wonder if he did that on purpose. When the professor realizes he's dead, but it's not that bad, and he says, if this was death, it was something he could live with. And I thought, that's a fucking advertising phrase, right? That's like almost advertising death. It was very funny.
It's a gag.
Yeah, it is, but it was great, And I think that one of the things, because I think of you, and I try not to be fawning, but I honestly believe that you are in the pantheon of great writers. Not just, well, he can write a thing or two, like great writers. And what interests me about great writers in the field that I would put you in, which is Evelyn Waugh, which is Vonnegut, is the idea of, or even Dickens, if you like, although Dickens I think is a little sentimental for my taste.
Well, he gets less sentimental as he gets older.
Right. Have you haven't gone sentimental, but I think you've softened a bit.
Well, that's all right though, isn't it? Oh.
It's all right. It's only New York. I thought it's a New York owl. It's like, move out the way. But but you seem to be like, even although the stories were revenge based, or not revenge based, they had contained elements of revenge.
Yes.
That in general, I got from the reading of the book that you were in quite a good place, I think.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things the book asks is when you reach this kind of later act in your life,
right? When
you reach Act 5,
right,
is how do you approach that?
Yeah,
and it seems to me that there's in the book there's two ways of approaching it. One is with serenity, where you think, okay, here we are, Henry James's last words are supposed to have been, "Here it is at last, the distinguished thing."
Right. I wouldn't have the presence of mind for that, but I'm not Henry James.
Nor knows anyone else.
No, you're a bit closer than I am, I think.
But, so either you're that, you can, okay, here I am, I've been there and I'm here and it's all okay. And you write out of that sense of serenity.
Right.
Or you're angry, and you write out of rage. Dylan Thomas saying, "Do not go gentle into that good night."
Yeah, I didn't get any rage from you.
No, and my view is that it doesn't have to be either or.
Right.
You can be serene on Tuesday and angry on Wednesday.
Well, somebody even says that in the.
So I wanted the book to be a bit about that, about how do you approach age and mortality in general? What's your take on it? How do you go for it? And I did feel quite kindly towards the characters.
Yeah, it comes across like that. I mean, one of the things that I really loved about the story Late was it felt like you were writing a historical wrong. Was that the intention?
Well, the college in the story is not named, but it's pretty obviously the college that I was at, which was King's College, Cambridge.
Right.
And the two of the grand old figures of that college, one is E.M. Forster, who I did briefly meet.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I was 19 and he was pushing 90. But
That's incredible that we think of that connect. That's amazing.
Yeah, and the other is the great figure of World War II, Alan Turing, who was the leader of the group that broke all the German codes, etc. But both of them suffered terribly in that time because they were both gay and it was illegal, and they were very badly treated because of their sexuality.
Right.
I mean, Forster, after writing Passage to India, never wrote another novel for the rest of his life.
Right.
And Turing was, he was offered this choice of chemical castration.
Yeah.
And I just thought, here are two of the greatest figures who ever went to the college.
Yeah.
And they were both treated in the same way, and it crippled them both. And so I thought, I'm going to make a character that's kind of both of them and a bit of myself as well, and talk about that. Talk about how great people can be crippled by the prejudices of their time.
Yeah.
And now, of course, there's a statue to Alan Turing at King's College, Cambridge, where the same place where he was treated horrifically.
Yeah, there is it's horrific, the story of Alan Turing, and it's what I liked about it as well was the kind of Arthurian legend woven in as well.
I wanted to write a King Arthur story all my life.
Right.
Because I was very attracted to the body of stories surrounding King Arthur.
Yeah.
Knights of the Round Table, Holy Grail, all of that. And I thought, if I was trying to write a modern version of that, what would it be like? And I tried various things, and I always discarded them because they were always no good. And then, oddly, having this story, which has nothing to do with knights and round tables, etc., about this old fellow in a Cambridge college who turned out to be called Arthur, which he wasn't when I started writing the story.
Right, okay.
I suddenly thought, maybe this is... And he oddly became my way into the Arthurian stuff.
Well, and also the magical Merlin world of it as well, and the idea that I don't want to spoil the end of the story for people who haven't read it, but it is a wonderful kind of. It was almost like I loved Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because he taking the Tate LaBianca murders and rewriting the end of it. He did it in the Inglourious Bastards as well, rewriting the end of the second.
Well, I just thought I'm going to take this very well-known history,
right, and
just turn it in the light and make it something a little different.
It was and kind of beautiful. It was kind of it over and over and over again, even in the saddest moments of and there are some very sad moments in the book, which I want to talk to you about the construction of it as well, by the way. But before, I just want to mention that even in the saddest moments, there is great beauty in this book.
Well, I think beauty is the job. I think, why do we read books? We read books for beauty.
Well, you certainly have contributed with this. What I thought was fascinating as well, it says that these are 5 stories, and they're laid out. They are 5 separate stories, clearly. But I got a sense that that the order was in purpose, and there was not necessarily a written narrative, but almost like an album that a musician.
I think it's a concept album.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, but not a Rick Wakeman concept album. Yeah.
Or like Sgt. Pepper.
Right.
It's Pet Sounds.
It has that feeling about it that everything kind of joins.
I hope that when people read it, it would feel like a work.
Yes.
Often collections of stories are just a bunch of bits.
Right.
And I didn't want it to read like that.
It doesn't read like that.
I wanted to feel like this is a work. Even though the 5 stories are very unlike each other.
Yeah, but I would say that the last story, The Old Man in the Piazza, is impossible to read without reading the 4 that precede it. You wouldn't it wouldn't resonate in the same way. It would be like an essay or a comment on language and speech, but
it acquires a kind of weight because of all the characters before.
I think it's just changed, as you probably should be, by a book. You know, that we all kind of change going through the process.
Yeah, no, I was very, because the sequence in which the stories are placed is not the sequence in which they were written.
Okay.
I mean, actually, the first and last stories were the first ones that I wrote.
That's interesting to me, especially in the last one, because the last one feels like the culmination of the four
but
previous
actually,
stories.
5 or 6 years before the others.
That's really fascinating. So, do you think the book was?
I went over it. I mean, I revised everything.
Sure.
Yeah. So the form that they're in now is shaped all at one time. But actually, yes, The Old Man on the Piazza is one of the older stories. The first story I wrote was I wrote the 2 shorter stories before the longer stories. But of the longer stories, the first one that I wrote was the ghost story.
Right.
And then I wrote The Musician, and then I wrote Oklahoma was the last one I wrote.
Oklahoma is an interesting story as well, because it when the Stone of Madness, the concept of the idea of
madness being a stone
in the head and having it removed. But I kind of there is a passage in there where you write as mad, and it is very unsettling to read. If I fear madness, I feel like I've touched up against it a couple of times, and it worries me. I don't like it.
I was so struck. I mean, I was in the Prado Museum in Madrid, and I went to look at the famous Bosch paintings, the Garden of
Earthlights.
But in that room, there's this very small painting. It's about sort of 12 inches by 8 inches, this is all, about this man being held down by a couple of other guys, while some kind of monkish figure with a long pair of pincers is pulling something out of his forehead. And the painting is called The Extraction of the Stone of Madness. And I thought, not for anything else, great title.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That is great.
And it just stuck in my head, and I thought, I want to do something with this. And then I discovered that this Argentine poet had already used that as a title for a collection of poetry, and she had committed suicide.
It is an odd thing. Do you think you've ever rubbed up against it yourself?
No, I don't think so. I think one of the things I've not done, I've done a few things.
Right.
But one of the things I've not done is consider ending my own life. No.
Well, listen, to be fair, there's so many people willing to do it for you.
Exactly. Take a number.
Yeah, it's like, it's fine. You don't need to. Good Lord. But it fascinated me, though, that to write in that style, I feel would be disconcerting. Do you feel a strong emotional pull, not just affection for the characters, but actually being inside?
No, I get,
and like you are the stone.
No, I get very worked up by by writing. But the thing that I can do, which I think some writers can and some can't, is I can leave it behind. So when I finish a day's work, and I get up from the desk and I leave the room, it stays behind.
Yeah, I've always been struck by you about that. You communicate like a human being, which is not always.
Yeah, and I actually like it. I think it's good for me as a writer to be able to leave it behind and go and do ordinary life things.
Yeah.
Go see a movie, go out to dinner.
Participate in the world.
Hang out with a friend.
Yeah.
I like to do that because what it does is it refreshes me. And when I get back to the desk the next day, I'm fresh again.
Do you think that comes from copywriting when you were a kid?
I don't know. I don't want to give that any credit at all.
I don't know. Adora Bubble should be remembered. Perhaps not with the Satanic Verses or the 11th Hour, but
that's not very often remembered, just occasionally. Because I remember the day I walked out of the ad agency for the last time.
Yeah.
It felt like getting out of jail.
Really?
It felt like freedom.
Did you know you were going to be okay? Did you know you were?
Yeah, well, I mean, Midnight Children came out, and
that was the second book, though. Midnight Children, right?
But when it came, the way I wrote Midnight Children was I had a part-time job in advertising,
right?
And so I had half the week to write my own stuff, and the other half to write, dog food commercials.
Right.
Literally,
you never get them mixed up.
But what it did do, advertising, is it gave me discipline.
Yeah.
When you know that you've got a meeting 2:30 on Friday, and that you've got to have it done and it's got to be good, it gives you discipline. And I've always retained that. I have very strong writing discipline.
clearly.
I could sit down and do a day's work.
I heard the Irish writer Maeve Binchy, she would drink a carafe of wine and write 2,000 words every day. And then after that, she would drink the carafe of white sangria, I think it was. Do you drink when you're working?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think you can write particularly well if you're bad.
I couldn't agree more, but there are those.
I mean, there's famous stories.
Yeah.
Hemingway, Fitzgerald.
Yeah. I wonder if they would have been better if they were sober, though.
Of course they would.
I think so, right? It's almost sacrilegious to say that, because then the people, it's the...
Hemingway, I think, was lying. I don't think he drank very much when he was writing.
Yeah, he stood up, so how could he have been drinking? Now, in my world, you can't stand up.
I think did
drink.
Fitzgerald, I think, did drink.
Yeah. He kind of, he left the game early, didn't he?
Yeah, and felt like a failure.
Did he?
Yeah.
Is that what he believed?
When it's on the record. I mean, when he died, he thought he had failed.
So surprising. There's a couple of things like that. Like Herman Melville thought that Moby Dick was a disaster. It was in the fishing sections of bookstores.
Well, it got very bad reviews.
Yeah, it really did. What are the reviews like for this? I haven't looked yet. Are they good?
This?
Yeah.
Well, it's only had the preview. I mean, it's had Starred Review and Publishers Weekly.
There you are. That's fine. If you get Publishers Weekly and Kirkus, that's all you need. Everyone else will follow that.
Got them.
Yeah, well, there you are.
Or a Starred Box Review.
Starred Box Review.
No.
I think you've got a future in the game. You're going to be all right.
You should maybe stick at it.
I have to tell you that I think this is one of the best. It's too early to tell. But this one, it feels to me like
I'm very glad to think so. What I think is that it's a very good introduction to my work.
That's what I was going to say. It's almost like the starter if you want to get into some, which is it's ridiculous because if you look at the canon of your work, this is the easiest way in. This book.
Also because we live in an age where people don't want to read a lot.
Right.
They could read 75 pages. It's better than reading 500.
Is it affected the way you write?
No, I actually really found myself enjoying the novella length.
Right.
The kind of 75 page.
It feels natural in the story.
And I think, some of the best things ever written are written at that length. Death in Venice.
That was a novella. That's right. Yeah.
No One Writes to the Colonel.
I haven't read that.
Garcia Marquez.
Yeah.
Best stuff. And, Metamorphosis.
Yeah, that's right. Metamorphosis appears in
Kafka makes a guest appearance.
And I was kind of fascinated by the idea of the protagonist in the unfinished novel starting a journey into America, which he never finishes.
He never finishes. It's the novel of Kafka's that even people who love Kafka often don't read.
I haven't read America, which is weird because I do love Kafka, and it's the one I haven't read.
It's very common that people who read everything else don't read that unfinished first novel. And it has such a strange ending where his character, Carl, gets hired by this very mysterious thing called the Nature Theater of Oklahoma.
Right.
Nobody knows what it does or why he's been hired and what he's been hired to do, but he gets a job and he gets on a train going to Oklahoma. And he never gets there because Kafka stops writing him. He gets stuck in this railway carriage full of cigar smoke.
And people have had a crack at writing the end of it?
I don't think nobody's ever tried to finish it.
Yeah.
I think, tried to finish a story by Kafka.
It's a little bit.
It's like trying to write a last scene of a Shakespeare play.
Yeah. I mean, like the walk down where everybody takes the bow. That's it. He gets to the end and there's no smoking carriage and he gets out.
Yeah.
The idea of the writers that you're talking about, who are the people that resonate with you now in your...
No, I mean, one of the reasons why the two great artists who appear in that story, Kafka and Goya.
Right.
And they're huge for me in my imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was young, the first time I ever was in Spain, I was in the Prado, and I thought there's three rooms, the Goya, Black Goyas, and the Velázquez Las Meninas, and the
Velázquez stuff is crazy.
Insane.
It's insane, yeah.
And the Bosch. I just thought these are the three greatest rooms in any gallery in the world. And I've always, all my life, every time I've been able to be in Madrid, I've gone back. And I think I just need to see those three rooms.
It's funny, the Velázquez, what's the Velázquez one with the mirror?
Las Meninas.
Las Meninas, that's the one?
Mm.
That it's one of the strangest paintings I've ever seen.
Yes, because the game with the sight lines it's so profound.
Nuts. Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of hard. You can look at it and look at it and look at it and look at it. I wonder if I can see how that would attract to your mind.
Yeah, it did. It's always just, it's one of the, there are works of art would just stick in your head forever.
Right.
And that's one of them.
Talk to me about the Bosch ones a little bit, because Bosch is the Bosch art I've always thought is, I've always associated with, and I know this is an apocryphal story about the idea that Bosch would paint in bursts and he would eat the rye bread, and the rye bread had mold on it, and the mold was hallucinogenic.
The mold was hallucinogenic. Well, there is, I remember finding out when I was writing The Enchantress of Florence,
Right.
that poor people in Florence who were too poor to buy fresh bread would buy the bread that was stale and which the baker was about to throw out.
Right.
And it had mold in it, and the mold had hallucinogenic properties.
Right.
And so everybody saw visions of the Virgin Mary.
And I wonder if it feels plausible to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly, if you look at Bosch, nobody was painting anything.
Nothing like that. I like the idea that the Virgin Mary appeared because you ate moldy bread. Yes.
Are you trying to piss off the Catholics as well?
It's just a comedy line.
Let me ask you about the spirituality that is evident, particularly in this new collection, right? You are a hardline atheist, but it feels to me that there is not a cracking a little on the idea of, when you talk about not an immortal soul, but a mortal soul, which is a phrase I've never heard before. I love.
Aristotle did.
Did he? Well, there you go.
He had this idea that, which I think many of us would agree with, that when we consider ourselves, the thing that we call I is not just the flesh and blood and bones. There's an I which is not just the physical self.
Right.
And we all think that about ourselves. So what the hell is that?
The mortals.
It is, and so Aristotle had this idea that there could be such a thing as a spirit, what another philosopher called the ghost in the machine, but that it doesn't outlive the body.
That seems to make more sense to me. I'm not an atheist because I feel like it's too kind of hard, to use your word, a hard line. I can't toe it because I feel like there's clearly no proof in the existence of
No, all I can say is that having come really quite close to the exit door,
Yeah.
one of the things that there wasn't was anything like a spirit leaving the body.
Right.
I thought, well, I'm dying in this, at least my body's dying and I'm dying with it. So there was no tunnel of light.
Did you feel fear or sanguine or?
I just felt, here it is. I just thought that I was quite calm.
That's interesting. I wonder, whenever I've been in any dangerous situation, it's usually afterwards I experience fear. It's like later on. Did you get that?
Yeah, no, you get all kinds of stuff. I mean, because stress, trauma is real.
Yeah, sure.
Trauma is real, and the consequences of trauma are real.
Sure.
But at the time, no heavenly choir.
Right.
No lights, no sense of going somewhere.
But what's interesting is about you saying that, and then having just read the story about the ghost, the dead man.
I've never written a ghost story.
Who's surrounded by fog and isn't quite sure what's going on. Yeah. I feel like having this conversation with you now, I'm like, well, that seems to be connected in some way.
Well, I just thought he wasn't supposed to be dead.
Right.
I mean, I thought initially that I was going to write a story about this old gent and this young Indian woman student.
Which is a lovely story.
And how they have their love of India in common, and it would make them friends. And so they would have this friendship of a very old person with a very young person. And I thought that would be the story, And I sat down to write it, and I wrote this sentence, which came out of nowhere, which said, when he woke up that morning, he was dead. And I thought, excuse me? Where did that come from?
That's an interesting surprise twist in the beginning of your story.
Yeah.
Are you an advocate, or do you in any way attracted to Jung and the collective unconscious and all that kind of?
Well, there was a moment in my life when I did read some of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't stick with me very much, But I just thought, I left it on my computer for a day or two, just sitting there. And then I thought, oh, well, I've never written a ghost story. How would that go if I wrote it? And so the story changed. It's still about the old gent and the young girl, but with this twist in it.
It's an interesting thing that you didn't connect with the Jungian aspect of it, because I felt a little bit of that in the Turing stuff.
Readers bring their own thing.
Well, that's true. People, that's the thing. It's not yours anymore. It's ours.
Exactly.
I mean, do you get a sense of loss when it's published?
No, I when it's finished, I'm really done with it. With anything I write, that once it's finished, it's finished. I don't have to hang on to it. I let it go.
Do you ever go back and look at it?
Not very often. I mean, sometimes. For example, when we made the film of Midnight Children, and I ended up writing the screenplay, which originally I wasn't going to, but that's how it worked out.
You're a writer. You're a control freak.
Then I had to. It was all about me.
Oh, it's my. Well, you certainly don't have to apologize about that.
No, I mean, it was clear that we were not going to.
You got to be able to.
We were not going to get the money to make the film unless I wrote the screen. And then I had to do a deep dive back into this novel, which I wrote when I was so much younger.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what happens when you read your old stuff is some of it you think, yeah, that's quite good. Mm-hmm. And some of it you think, well, maybe that bit could have been left out.
Yeah. I've experienced that a bit with my own, I mean, if you do, even like a lot of younger comedians right now, as they get a little older, are starting to realize that some of the stuff that you say when you're young doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And people get into trouble, Everything's visible right away.
But I also think with the book that's out there and published and has had its life in the world, is that you shouldn't go back. You can't go back in. You can't go back and fix it.
Well, I think it's interesting, though, as a reader of yours and of other great writers, is that when it belongs to the world, as the books that you write now do, and this one will join them, is that they do stand up to, and I mean that by going back and reading them again. Now, perhaps as the writer, that's a different experience. But is there a book that you return to, and are you a voracious reader?
Oh, a book of mine?
No, another book, not you.
Oh, it used to be. It used to be that I would read Ulysses once every 10 years or so.
Okay.
I don't now. I think I've read it enough.
You know what Peter Cook used to say about Ulysses when people said they were reading it? He said, "Neither am I."
That's very good.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I was to read Joyce now, I'd be more likely to read Dubliners,
right,
or Portrait of the Artist.
Ulysses is a hard book.
It's a hard book, but it's got funny in it.
Yeah,
there's funny stuff in it, and there is that incredible soliloquy at the end.
Yeah,
Molly Bloom letting rip.
Yeah, it's a long way to get to that. I mean, I've never successfully completed that.
Well, it's still waiting.
All right. Well, I'll go back to it. But
there are books that this novel of Saul Bellows, The Adventures of Augie Marsh,
right,
that I do pick up and look at every so often.
I'm not familiar with the book at all.
Well, it's when Martin Amis wrote about it, he said, this is the great American novel.
Really? Okay. You could write a bit, Martin Amis. Were you friendly with Martin Amis? I would imagine you were probably you were around at the same time.
There was a bunch of us, Martin and Ian McEwan and me and a few others. Ishiguro.
It's a bit of a posh crew, isn't it? And hanging around.
Angela Carter.
Yeah.
Julian Barnes, so etc. There's a bunch of us.
Are you social with writers now? Do you still hang?
A few friends.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of my friends are not writers.
Right.
But I was very close friends to Paul Auster, and so that's a real loss.
Yeah.
I'm friendly with Don DeLillo, and some of the younger people. I'm friendly with Zadie Smith, and
right. That's it's funny that, because are writers competitive in the way that show business people are?
I'm not. I mean, I guess some people are. Yeah. I think there's room for everybody. I
think also, to be fair, you're fucking Salman Rushdie, so why would you care? You know, I mean, you like you made your bones.
Well, thank you for saying so.
Yeah.
But I will.
So eloquently, I think you were probably going to add it.
Very well. I couldn't have said it better myself. But I do think that there is room for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and the great thing about, you walk into a bookstore, there's all those books.
A lot of books.
And there's room for all of them.
Do you know what I've noticed that a lot of people would do now as well? I don't know if you know this, that they will say they've read a book when they haven't read it. They've listened to it.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. I don't mind how people consume the stuff.
Right.
You know, if it's easier to listen, if it's easier to read on. I mean, I now read on an iPad in a way that I never used to.
Yeah. Do you have that setting though, so that
Well, what I could do is first of all, it's lit,
right,
and secondly, I can adjust the type size.
right,
And it's easier, thanks to my eye problem,
right.
to do that. But I never used to read. I used to be scornful of iPads, and now I use them every day.
Yeah, no, I don't mind I just feel like the process of the, like when I was reading the 11th Hour, there's no audio form of it available to me right now. So I'm looking at the galleys of this book, and I'm reading it, and as I read it, I'm thinking to myself, I'm so glad I'm doing this and not having it done for
me. We made a decision with the audiobook, which is to have 5 different people reading the 5 different stories.
That's great. Do you know who they are?
Yeah, they're all good people.
Yeah, good. I mean, I feel like I would have been fine for maybe one of them, but it's...
Well, you would have.
Yeah, let's just say that. When you write the great Scottish novel, then we do it. Scotland does get a mention, though. I noticed that at one point, where was it? It was... It's in late when they're talking about the homosexuality laws, when you're talking about that and the fact that Scotland was late in adopting.
Exactly. When it became legal in England, it was still illegal.
Still illegal in Scotland, which it's so bizarre. You try to explain that to my own children now with the idea that being gay was against the law.
You could go to
they're like, it's crazy.
I know. It's like being blue-eyed.
Yeah, I know. It's such an insane thing to me.
Yeah,
but
it was there for a long time.
It was for a long time. But it was funny that I remember when it passed in the House of Lords, the legalization. It passed very quickly.
Yes.
And I remember some very clever theatrical person in London saying it was because of the interest of the people involved in the House of Lords. But there used to be all these euphemisms for it in British society. Are you musical?
Yes.
Was one.
Confirmed bachelor.
Confirmed bachelor was one. Do you know what I loved, by the way? I meant to tell you, in the book, when you reference the rise and fall of Reginald Perrin.
Oh, yes.
The BBC.
The BBC TV series.
That was it fascinated me as the idea that you could fake your own death.
Your own death.
And disappear into... I still think about that a little bit.
Yeah, and because it was so beautifully acted as well.
Yeah, it was. It was the Leonard Rossiter. Yeah, he was a fabulous actor. And the idea that you can disappear into the world. There's a line in a U2 song somewhere about disappearing into the arms of America.
Yeah, well, you see, the title that Kafka almost used for his unfinished first novel, because America was a title that was put on it.
He didn't write that one. That's right. I learned that from this book.
But he was thinking of calling it The Man Who Disappeared.
Right.
And so that's what gave me the clue for my story, because it becomes actually about 2 men who disappeared.
Was it ever a temptation for you back in the fatwa days to like, I mean, because in fact, you kind of had to disappear.
I had to be very low key, let's say, for a while. But it prompted in me the opposite desire, which is to get my life back.
That's interesting. Yeah. No, I guess that makes sense as well. I mean, I was out in the American West like last week, and we were filming something out in the desert. Have you ever been out there?
A little bit. Yeah.
We were filming out in the desert, and everything had to be turned off for a minute, and I was on my own in the middle of the desert. And it was the first time in a long time that I'd heard the enormity of the silence. And it feels to me, this is one of the reasons why I can't underscore atheist in a character description for myself, because there's something about the enormity of that silence that feels like divine to me almost.
Well, the place where I felt it, that's years ago now. I went on a safari in the Serengeti.
Okay.
And if you're in the middle of the Serengeti in the middle of the night,
right,
with these unbelievable stars over you,
Yeah.
with actually where you can actually see the whole galaxy. And it's astonishing, and that you can't hear anything.
It's fascinating to me, the sense of wonder and the sense of mysticism and oddness in your writing that you say atheism. Is that an anti-religious stance or a definite?
I just don't need it to explain what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah. But I think the idea of not knowing.
Yeah, I don't like religions.
Yeah.
I don't like.
I can see why that would.
Actually, the religions I like most are the polytheistic ones.
Right, I like them. And you go like, this is the good river god for this river.
More stories.
Yeah.
Better stories.
Yeah.
So, and after all, if you think about what we now think of as mythology, I mean, the Greek myths were originally the religion of Greece.
Mm-hmm.
And the Nordic myths were the religion of the Norse countries.
Mm-hmm.
So religions which have pantheons have wonderful stories.
I think my personal belief is that's why the Catholics got all the saints to come in, because it wasn't exciting enough just to have God
just to broaden the canvas.
Yeah, just like, well, let's have saints, and then they can and then you can pray to a saint.
Yes,
which it feels a little bit like a little bit like you're having a polytheist environment, the pantheon of the saints.
I'm going to leave it to you to say that.
Yeah. You know what? We can cut it out if it looks like trouble. But I don't blame you. But it does seem to me like it's like a little bit like that. You know, I was fascinated. Did you ever read, I suppose you probably knew him, I met him briefly myself, is Gore Vidal.
I met him a few times.
Right. Apparently not an easy customer to get along with, but I don't know. I mean, my personal experience.
He got crustier as he got older.
Yeah, well, it can happen. But his book on Julian the Apostate, I particularly enjoyed.
He was the best as a historical novelist.
That's what I think too. Right.
I mean, Burr is a wonderful book.
Burr's book, Creation, is a great book.
Lincoln is a
the narratives of empire.
Mm.
Yes,
Creation is a very good book.
That's the one where Buddha and Socrates and
Alexander.
Yeah, and Xerxes the Great and Darius the Great and the Hellenic Wars and all that. It's fantastic. Yeah. And it makes it very livable. And if I can fanboy out a little bit on your stuff, particularly in this book right now, is the idea that everything in the book that I have just finished reading is plausible within the world, and which is weird because there's a lot of miracles and strange things and magic.
But this is what you try and do as a writer, is to create a world that is believable to the reader, at least for the length of time that they're reading it.
Right. Well, achievement unlocked, move to the next level, because the idea of like the family that was pulled apart in what I now think of as the Bollywood movie,
The Musician,
where the mathematician is taken into the cult, and the baby that grows up to be the piano player that takes her revenge with the sitar music is so.
I was thinking long before I knew what the story was. I just had this idea of music giving the musician a kind of superpower. And I didn't even know what that might be, superpower. And then I remember reading the poem, The Pied Piper of Hamelin.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Robert Browning's poem. Of course, in that case, the power of the music is used first for good, getting rid of rats, and then for evil, getting rid of children.
Mm-hmm.
But I got thinking that there was something I wanted to do about music and the magical power of music. And I finally found the story.
Do you listen to music for inspiration?
I can't listen to anything when I'm actually writing.
Right.
I mean, I know people who write with music playing all the time.
Right.
I can't do that.
What about the idea of the before you're actually physically right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes just to get in the mood,
Yeah.
depending what
Or
I
to think about a story you're working on, or
Mm.
because it feels to me like, you know, that lovely Basquiat quote, art is how we decorate space, music is how we decorate time. Which I wonder in the thinking process of thinking about, because clearly you don't sit down and write something like the Musician or Late in a day.
No, definitely not.
So there has to be, you know, a process of mulling the story over.
Yeah,
I guess.
No, I mean, I listen to music when I'm not writing.
Right.
And
What do you listen to? Is it, I imagine, an eclectic?
I don't know everything, everything. I listen to Prince. I listen to the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to see the Dylan movie, and I've seen it 3 times.
Okay. So you liked it, or you really hated it?
No, I really liked it. What I really liked was the music.
That's interesting.
Just watching that great music being, as it were, dramatized.
Yeah, and he did, I believe Chalamet did his own singing in that.
He did his own singing. And also, Monica Barbaro playing Joan Baez, she did her.
Yeah, that's kind
I
of...
thought nobody could sing like Joan Baez, but although apparently they can.
There's all these people coming up there who they're pretty impressive. Do you look at any young writers now and think that's somebody very important on the way? Is there anyone that you'd...
I mean, I don't know. I'm not as well read in the first novelists and so on,
Right,
as I should be. But there's a lot of younger writers that I admire very much. I mean, I very much like the African American writer Jesmyn Ward.
I'm not familiar with it.
She's won the National Book Award twice before she was 30.
I should probably...
You probably should.
Yeah.
And I'm not that young, but James McBride's last couple of novels,
Right.
I think, have been astonishing. There's a novel called The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, which is about a very interesting Jewish/Black community in Pittsburgh. Brilliant novel. And the novel before that, which is called, I keep confusing its name with the Murakami title, The Good Lord Bird,
Right.
which is about the Harper's Ferry, John Brown uprising.
Oh, okay. Right.
And they're very, very good.
So you're immersed in literature all the time, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm writing fiction, I really don't read very much fiction.
That would probably be, yeah.
I don't want to be infected.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
By somebody else's voice.
Yeah.
And good writers are infectious.
Yeah. I think that you, because you respond to it, it's almost like it's an emotional connection.
When I'm trying to make my own music, I don't need somebody else's music.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a little bit about, because we're going to have to wind up in a minute because we've been yakking for a while, but let me ask you a little bit about I want to take you back to Late for a minute.
Mm.
The Cambridge Dawn story. I say Oxford in my head just because it's
wrong.
Because it's my head. But the idea of, I'm fascinated by the idea of people like H.G. Wells and C.S. Lewis corresponding. The idea of these great differing opinions from kind of the same world clashing in this very elegant letter-writing way. Is there anyone in your life that you have that kind of...
No, unfortunately, nobody writes letters anymore.
Right.
Emails don't, not the same
do it the same.
Not the same thing. So, I mean, I do think that there is, even in American literature, if you look just to that generation we were talking about, that generation before mine,
right?
They all wrote to each other letters about their books.
Yeah.
And they weren't even nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said, I admire you so much. Your new book is really dreadful.
Well, people still review other people's...
No, but the point is, what was interesting about those interactions is that it didn't create hostility.
Right. It was like, it was a...
They were able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
There's something about the nature of the letter that allows that to happen.
I think also, though, I would agree with that. But I think there's a fashion to be right or wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel very out of the loop sometimes about what's happening in what we call now.
Yeah.
I don't think I live in now.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't think I do anymore either. I mean, it doesn't look like an attractive loop to me.
No, it's like Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, which is gone.
It's just like a room you don't want to be in.
Yeah. Well, I remember back in the days when the internet started, run about, I don't know, sometime in the 1940s, perhaps, that I remember people used to be in chat rooms.
Yes.
And I was like, why would I want to be in a chat room? A virtual room with people that I don't know. But apparently that's the thing that took off.
Well, I prefer what we call friends.
Yes.
That you can be in actual.
Yes, well, yeah. I think so. Well, listen, it's a pleasure to be in an actual room with you. It always is. And congratulations on the 11th Hour, because I honestly believe right now is one of your best. But I've only just finished it.
Thank you. Well, tell your friends.
I don't have any. They're all in this room. That's it. All right, get out of here.
Thank you.
That's
great.
Lovely. And I really